Hi, you're listening to Everyday Superpower, a place where you can learn about body language and nonverbal communication. Here you're able to learn how to read the minds of others purely through observing their subconscious body gestures and behaviors. Alright, so what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be continuing the series on women attraction signals, okay, or at least some of the more common attraction signals you'll find from women. If you enjoy what you hear, click like, click subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment if you've experienced anything like this or have any stories of your own. So today we're going to be talking about the fondling of a cylindrical object. Alright, I might as well just call it a phallic object because it is what it is. Alright, so obviously the phallus is relating to the male genitalia. Yeah, you'll see this throughout your entire life. When you start to pay attention to it, you'll find it quite funny actually. I only observed the other day, I don't know why it took me so late, but the guitar is a representation of the phallus. If you have a look at the shape of it and where it hangs on a human being, you can see why boys are so interested in getting into guitar, as it's a an extension to their masculinity and manhood. And so when we talk about phallic objects and stuff, they do replicate, a harmony with the physical. So let's talk about a woman. You're going on a date with her, yeah, and you see that she's starting to fondle the stem of the wine glass, okay? She's speaking to you, or I think this scene sets it up quite well because you do see this, alright, if you're, dating relatively regular, or if you're, having a good spark with someone, you'll see as you're talking and they are attentive looking at you, they may be rubbing the stem of the wine glass up and down in a very slow, sensual manner. So the last video we did was based upon sensual self-touch. Now this is taking it outside of the realms of touching the self. This is not about receiving pleasure, this is about giving pleasure, okay? So the sensual rubbing up and down of the stem of a wine glass. Now this is outside of this individual's conscious awareness. They're not thinking, well, what if I rub this up and down? Are they gonna, fall for me if I do that? Nah, no way. This is the subconscious exposing what they are feeling at that moment in time, okay? So you'll see that. You'll see it happening with cigarettes. We've spoken about cigarettes and, sexy smokers. And to an extent, we started to delve into the fetishization of the cigarette and the smoker. Alright. I was watching TV. I was watching a dating program on TV, and this is something you see relatively regular, but this is something I just saw the other night. So two individuals are talking, and the woman starts to push the straw in and out of the cup she was holding. So I don't know what she had, a cocktail of sorts perhaps, and it wasn't necessarily down to her crushing ice. It came through an ecstatic sort of energetic burst she had in response to what the man said. She started, plunging the straw in and out of the cup. Now, not necessarily so sensual as the slow and erotic rubbing of the wine glass, but it's still representative of a particular motion, alright? I've been for a doctor's appointment as to where I needed to, take off clothes, and it was a woman doctor. And in doing so, I've inquired, well, what should I cover? What should I have exposed? And blah, 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 blah. And while she's been explaining it to me, she, like the wine glass, has been rubbing the pen up and down, which is an exposure of what she has on the mind. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that she's there and she wants to, literally enact that. But there is, given that you read the room right and assess the clusters right, a potential that it is an outwards projection of what she has on the mind, all right, at least linking to the phallus. Yeah? I've been in a workplace as to where my what would you call him? What would you call him? My supervisor, individual in power supervisor position, was a woman, and whilst speaking to me would maybe sometimes rub the ring on her finger, which I think it was a wedding ring, to be fair with you, which goes to show, you know what I mean, it doesn't matter how many sort of societal restraints you can lock down on a person, the biological hardwiring is still going to speak words. You can't hide how you feel. So whilst talking to someone, the hands meet and there is a up and down motion of not taking the ring off, but just bringing it up and down and massaging it over that finger. All right. Now, you don't necessarily have to approach that as sexual and, oh, that means that, you know, it's a representation of sexual intercourse. You don't have to consider it like that, but what you can approach it as is that it's a very clear cue of nervous energy. All right. And as we know, when it comes to attraction, it's all based within the nervous realm. There's a high correlation between sexually charged energy and that of nervous and anxious energy, okay? It links into why a lot of people are interested in, the whole submissive and dominant aspect. To be able to relinquish your duties in the faith of another and so forth can strike a feeling of dependence and anxiety, or perhaps even relieve that anxiety, all right? So to play and fluctuate with them feelings does have its applications within the sexual realm, all right? You don't, as much as you want to be comfortable with someone who you are, trying to appeal to, it doesn't hurt to create a nervous tension. All right, a nervous build-up and so forth. So this is nervous energy when we talk about the individual, fidgeting with the ring. It's significant of discomfort. And that's about it, really. Just a few bits of food for thought. There's plenty of different examples we can talk about. We could talk about, a television remote, or we could talk about, a drink of some sorts and blah de blah de blah, but the point still remains the same, alright? You have to take things as you see them, and you have to pay attention to how a body reacts in regards to particular stimuli, because a person can consciously be telling you what you should be doing for your work and inquiring about how you're doing at the work, such as when we're talking about the supervisor, but there is a mismatch when it comes to the body language, and you have to understand what that represents and why the person is acting in such a manner, okay? So hopefully this was of benefit. Hopefully there was something to consider. Don't take it all for fact. The examples I've given, is up for interpretation. Everything's, especially when it comes to stuff like this, you have to be very careful, all right? So I'm not saying whether it's, 100% certain, but you will see it in your day-to-day, and you will see, particular phallic displays and fidgeting that enters that space within the sexual realm on a relatively recent basis. If you're now dating, if you're courting an individual and so on and so forth, there's a potential you will see it. So hopefully this was of benefit. If you enjoyed what you heard and you want to continue learning about these signals, feel free to click like, click subscribe. If you have any stories yourself in regards to what relates to this topic, just drop a comment. Cheers.